Hello, greetings and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to my podcast here today. This is going to be my first podcast, aside from my introduction one, that I'll be talking about a traveling thing that I have done, which is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do these podcasts is to share my experiences with things that I've done in the past. And of course, local or recently too, which is what I'm actually going to be doing today in this episode. So the most recent thing that I've done was take a trip to Milwaukee. That was a couple weeks ago that I did it, maybe about a little over a week ago, I should say. And I wanted to share my experience with that. In my introductory podcast, I had mentioned that in addition to having a passion for traveling and going on cruises, one of my hobbies was going to sports games. And I like to be able to see all of the MLB teams, NBA, NHL, NFL, and Power Five college football teams. So in my life, I've done quite a few of them, and I continue to do more till I hit them all. And I wanted to also share that with you as well. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about my trip to Milwaukee and my experience to Milwaukee. Years ago, when I worked for the airline, I was able to have flying benefits that made it easier to be able to do this hobby. So there would be times where I would actually fly in, hit a game real quick, and then immediately fly right back, either that same day or just the following morning. Now that I'm no longer with the airlines, it's a little bit more tougher to travel back and forth to different places. So what I try to do is I try to knock out as many stadiums as I can within a single trip. Try to kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. In this particular case of what I'm going to be telling you about today is my trip to Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, I was able to see both the Milwaukee Brewers and the Milwaukee Bucks. I do it both in one day. That way I don't have to go back and forth two separate times to hit two different teams. I get them both on the same day. Where possible, I like to be able to make that work now. So in this case, there was a Milwaukee Brewers game that happened in the afternoon, and then there was a Milwaukee Bucks game that happened in the evening. So I was able to go out there and hit both games. I wasn't alone on this trip. I had my father. He came with me. He's actually done a lot of traveling with me. For someone who does not have that as his hobby, he's certainly seen his fair share of stadiums, just being my dad, and he's gone with me quite a few times. And then in addition to my dad, there was also a good friend of mine and his teenage son that also joined us. So there was four of us all together. My dad rented a car, and we went out there. We had to do this kind of early. So from Detroit to Milwaukee, where we live here in Detroit, it was about a 5.5 hour drive. So this is a one-day thing, and it was over the weekend, and I needed to get back to by Monday morning. So we left in the morning. I want to say my friend and his son came to my house. I was kind of packing up some snacks and putting in a bag, and they came over around 6:45, I believe. And then from there, we went to my dad's, who doesn't live very far from me, maybe 5-10 minutes away, very close by. We went to him. He was all ready to go. And we head out about around 7 a.m. And we gave ourselves enough time. So 5.5 hours, we could have easily gotten there in time for the game. But I gave ourselves enough time so that if we needed to stop for gas, or we needed to stop to use the restroom, get some snacks, we had some time to do that. Not to mention game day traffic. You're always going to hit the game day traffic for any sporting event. So figured try to build that all in, give ourselves enough time. And I'm glad that we did, because we did all those things. We stopped on the way there. We got some stuff to snack on. I got Muddy Buddies, which are absolutely delicious. Love those. And what else? We got some other things. Donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. Had to get, things to munch on. So, and I even brought a snack bag. But, it's a road trip, and you like to have stuff to munch on a road trip. So glad that we did that. We did hit a little bit of traffic getting into there. Not too bad. We actually had to go through Chicago, and through Chicago there was a little bit of traffic. In fact, there was an emergency vehicle that came as we were going on one of the highways, and I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, but it slowed everything down behind us. I was like, oh, great. But it was like right in front of us. So it didn't take us too long to eventually pass that emergency vehicle. But as things were going on behind it, it kept getting backed up. I'm glad that we were at least like right there near them. That way, once we went past them, we were clear to go from there. So we did hit a little bit of traffic, not too bad. And it was a relatively decent ride. 5.5 hours actually went by fairly quickly. And, we had good conversation and we were laughing and joking as we were going there. My friend's son, he had to switch with him. He was playing some video games back there. So we had a good time getting there, and maybe even took a little nap as well, which, my naps aren't long, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. Nice little power nap gets me going. So as we get into Milwaukee, though, we did experience rain that day. And from what I knew, Milwaukee did have a retractable roof. And I was thinking to myself, there should be no reason why this isn't going to be closed so that we could be nice and dry inside. Baseball can't really be played in the rain anyway. They got to put the tarps out on the field for rainfall. So there's got to be no reason why they wouldn't do it. And sure enough, when we got there, the roof was retracted. So glad about that. But yeah, we got in there. It was rainy, and we actually parked right into the stadium's parking lot. There's other things that could be parked around, and they were probably a little cheaper. We ended up spending a little bit more so that we could be parked right there, right by the stadium. So it only took us like maybe 5 minutes to walk to our car up into the building. And it used to be called Miller Park, and it has since switched to American Family Field. Yeah, so kind of prefer the name Miller Park. Not that I am a Milwaukee Brewers fan or a Miller fan or anything like that. I don't know. It kind of sounded like a nice park, a nice name for it, especially since they are the Brewers. You brew beer. Miller is beer. And you can see that theme. They had a lot of decor in the stadium that you saw, like beer barrels and things like that. So it went along with the theme of their team. They're the Brewers. So, but that's just, that's what stadiums do nowadays. They go to whoever has the sponsorship, give them the most money, and they'll slap their name on there. So, stadium names from before, which I used to appreciate, now it's like it's some business name. It is what it is. So anyways, it's American Family Field now. It used to be Miller Park. Same building from what I understand, just a different name. So we got there. Nice stadium. I always, as I mentioned in my introductory, I love looking at the architecture. Architecture of stadiums are always different, which I appreciate, So they have the retractable dome. Not every baseball stadium has a retractable dome. And I thought it looked pretty cool. In fact, hopefully this will come through. I know this is only my second time doing a podcast, but just to kind of give you an idea what it may look like if you can see this, I am sharing a picture of it. So I do post my pictures, by the way. I don't think I mentioned this in my previous podcast, but Jay's Paradise Travels has both an Instagram page and a Facebook page. Please feel free to subscribe to it, look it up, like it, all those good things that podcasters ask you to do. But anyways, I do like to share my pictures that I take. I take pictures of the outside and I take pictures of the inside. So hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it's coming through here. First time using it. And that was us going into the stadium parking lot itself and taking a few pictures as we were walking into the stadium too. So we got in there. And as soon as we walked in, they had a big team store to the left of us. We were kind of around home plate area. Big team store to the left of us. I thought about going in, but right in front of that was a food area, and it was very crowded. A lot of people there, and of course we were going to be upstairs. We were going to be on the top. We weren't going to be down there. We chose the cheaper seats up top, but their food was down there, and so we decided to get some food there. When I go to a baseball game, I would love to have like one of those nice grilled hot dogs. I think that's a nostalgic thing. You see them kind of like going, cooking there. I forget what those things are called, whatever those rollers are that they're on, or being grilled or whatever, that nice smell. But I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen that. It's been some years since I've actually had that sight and that smell, that nostalgia from that. I feel like more so now you just got different whatever restaurants they have or food vendors that they have, and they might be boiling them in the back or something like that, but not really grilling a hot dog. Perhaps I could be wrong. Maybe you know of some, and if you do, feel free to share it with me. What stadiums still have those old-fashioned grilled hot dogs that you can buy? I'd love to be able to know. Didn't have them here though, so we ended up getting. My dad got some chicken tenders. I got like a chicken sandwich. It was a Parmesan chicken sandwich. Very tasty, not gonna lie. It was still very good. Was hoping for the hot dog because it's a baseball game, but that's okay. Anyways, so but we were right there by home plate, so we ended up actually kind of going down and just kind of seeing a little bit of that viewpoint from the home plate down there. We were going to be more up top, but I wanted to kind of see what it was look like from that viewpoint. And I even took a picture. Let's see if it'll come through. Hopefully it does. If it is, great. This is us just kind of behind home plate, a little bit on field level there. And the stadium hadn't really, it still was filling up. So I thought it was kind of a cool view down there. I would have loved to have been able to watch the game from there, maybe next time. But for this time, we were upstairs. So anyway, so we got there. We had that. We went up to our seats eventually, and they had like a smaller team store upstairs as well as some food options there. So one of the things I ended up getting, because I was in Wisconsin, was I got a bag of cheese curds. And I've only had cheese curds once, and that was when I was in Wisconsin years ago when I went to a Packers game when I was out there for a couple days, which will have to be discussed in a future episode. But I got some cheese curds. If you're going to go to Wisconsin, I figure might as well buy some cheese curds. So I don't know if you're like me when it comes to that. I like to do the local stuff or something that's a little bit more well known to that area. I like to try it. My wife's the same way. So when in Wisconsin, tried some cheese curds. They were actually pretty good. A little salty, that's for sure, but very tasty. So I did enjoy them. So anyways, game started, and immediately first inning, they were playing Seattle, by the way, the Seattle Mariners, who I've never seen Seattle Mariners in Seattle. I have seen them on the road. So this would be at least my second time that I've seen the Seattle Mariners. Maybe I've seen them more. I'd have to look at my list. I actually keep a spreadsheet, if you can believe this, of every team and my record with that team of what I've seen them. And I also mark off if I've seen their stadium, if I've been to a game. Some I've actually seen the stadium on the outside, maybe going by, but I've never been to a game. Maybe I'm a little nerdy that way, keeping that as a record, but that's what I do. That's part of my hobby, and that's how I keep it organized. I actually do have a method to my madness when it comes to this, but I mean, that'll be for another time. Anyway, so I've seen Seattle at least twice now, and Milwaukee, I believe this was my first time seeing them, either at home, obviously at home, but even on the road, I don't think I've seen them. Game starts, and first inning, Seattle scores right away, 1-0. All right. And bottom of the first, Milwaukee knocks in 3 runs to take a 3-1 lead. Next inning, Seattle scores another run, make it 3-2. Bottom of the second, Milwaukee scores another 3 runs to make it 6-2. 6-2, we were in the bottom of the second. Not often do I get to go to a game and it's 6-2 at the end of the second inning. Sometimes maybe at the end of the game it's 6-2. But in this game, it was 6-2 by the end of the second inning. Later on in the fourth inning, Milwaukee was able to knock in 4 more runs to really blow the thing wide open. And eventually, this was kind of interesting. If I remember correctly, it was Milwaukee that did this. They had one of their players. Now, they were up big, and I guess when you're up big, you can try things, you can experiment. Might as well, you're probably going to win the game. But they were up big, and they put in one of their fielders. I can't remember if he was an outfielder or an infielder. I don't know the roster that well. As much as I enjoy sports, I can't say I memorize everyone's rosters, and I'm not like a sports talk radio guy that could know every team and every player and all that. So I don't remember which player it was, but they put him in as the pitcher, which I thought was interesting, And like I said, when you're up big and you have a lead like that, sure, why not? Maybe he went up to the coach. Hey, coach, I want to try pitching. Can I pitch for an inning? All right, son, get in there, see what you can do. I don't know what made in that decision. So he goes in there. That was fun to watch. He was lobbing those balls 40, 50 mile an hour pitches in there. They were teeing off. It was kind of funny. The fastball was in the low 70s. The fastball. Never have I seen the word fastball and the number 7 come in after that. Usually fastballs are in the 90s, not the 70s, unless you're at like a batting cage. So I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, with him being the pitcher, they ended up knocking in a couple runs. Again, no big deal. They were up big at that point. I think they were up 12-2 at that point, and they allowed a couple runs, made it 12-4. Still won the game. Still was manageable. And hey, you never know. Try an experiment. Some things happen, or there could have been some other reason behind it. I don't know whatever the reason was. I just got a kick out of it that they put in an infielder or outfield, one of their fielders, to pitch for a little bit. Cost them a couple runs, but that's okay. It gave them a shot anyway, and they still won the game at the end. One of the things that was cool was that my friend was able to capture a home run. That doesn't happen very often. If you video something, you never know when a home run is gonna be hit. Unless you have it ready there just for every pitch and just every second, hoping that that's the one. Usually you're not gonna. It's hard to get a video of that. But my friend did. My friend was able to get a video of a home run. That was pretty exciting. I don't know if videos can be shown here. I know. I'm hoping that the pictures that I've tried to share was coming through, but I don't know if a video can be. I guess I could try to give it a try here. It does. If not, then oh well, I guess. So here we go. Let me see if I can share it. I don't know if there'll be any sound either.
We got it in this login.
But you can see the reaction of the crowd and the lights, the fireworks. They had fireworks. That was kind of cool, especially being inside. You can kind of see the architecture there. Like I said, I appreciate that. A lot of windows on the baselines. To the left there, you can see all the windows. He got me in there. And to the right there on the first baseline, a lot of windows. Thought those kind of, and out there in the back, there was a slide too, which I thought was kind of interesting. They have a slide out there. I don't know if I got a close-up picture of the slide. And whatever their mascot was over there too. But it went down from one level to another level. I thought that was kind of unique as well. I haven't seen too many slides at a baseball field either. I don't know if anyone went down it. I think it would be a little nerve-wracking because it wasn't like an enclosed slide, and it was pretty loopy. And I just could imagine just falling off like, oh, and going right down. I don't know if anyone uses a slide. So they did have, now most baseball games have this, but they had like a little race, of like the sausage and the hot dog and whatever food, people are dressed up in costumes, whatever I don't know if it's necessarily the mascot, but anyways, they had a few of them. First time I seen this, they had 4 of them running, and then they relayed halfway through to little kids who were also in costumes and had the little kids run the rest of the race. That was kind of unique too. So I don't remember who won that one, but I thought that was kind of interesting that they had little kids participate in that one too. So the final score of this game was 12-4. Milwaukee won it, and it was a fun atmosphere to be a part of. We had one guy who was in front of us. We thought maybe he could have been a season ticket holder. He's a little bit older, middle-aged man. He was definitely enjoying himself, we'll put it that way. A lot of yelling, and we got a kick out of him. Definitely got a kick out of him. So he was definitely enjoying himself. I feel like if I talk about him, it might sound negative, and I don't want to do that I just don't want to do that. But we definitely enjoyed watching him watch the game. We'll put it that way. So it's always nice to have fans who are really into the game, into the sport. And at that time, Milwaukee was doing pretty good. I think they were second in their division. I mean, the season just started not too long ago. So a week and a half ago, probably played a lot of games since then, haven't followed to see what the record is now. But at the time, they were doing pretty well, and that continued to do well. Seattle was like around 500, maybe a game under at that time. Not sure where they're at now. So, but and this is how I am when it comes to going to a sports game. When I go to a sports game, now I am from Detroit. I'm I am a local home team kind of guy. So my teams are the Detroit teams: Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, Lions, and Michigan Wolverines. Those are my local home teams. If I go outside of a Detroit team, when I go to a stadium, I am going to root for the home team, unless they're playing the Detroit team, which a couple of times I've seen my teams on the road, and uh, then I'll of course root for them. But if they are not playing, then whoever the home team is, I will root for them. I will be a Milwaukee Brewers fan for a day. I will be a Milwaukee Bucks fan for a day. I will be whatever that team is. If they're not playing a home team, a Detroit team, I will be that team's fan for a day. And I like to do that because then I can be a part of the crowd too. So when they score, I'm cheering. When they are losing, I can boo, or whatever the case might be. I will be a fan of their team for one day. So I was a Milwaukee Brewers fan for one day, and in doing so, they won 12-4. Now what's interesting is, if let's say next year I go to this exact same game, but I go to it in Seattle, I will be rooting for the Mariners. That's just how I am. So I will root for the home team as long as they're not playing a local team. That was the Milwaukee Brewers game. Fun. Like I said, they had a decent crowd, and definitely had some excitingness to it. My friend's son ended up getting a hat. He ended up getting a Milwaukee Brewers hat. Looked pretty good on him too. So that was nice. That game was over. It was raining outside still. Hadn't let up. And just walking back to the car was miserable. I'm not a fan of getting wet, to be honest with you. I don't like, unless I'm taking a shower, I don't want to be wet, which is interesting because, I love cruises, and a lot of cruises go to the beach and there's pools, and I think the beaches are beautiful, but I don't necessarily want to get into the water. I have, and I'll explain that in another episode of one of our cruises that I did get into the water, but that's for another time. Anyway, so not a fan of getting wet. Had to get out into the car. Thankfully, I believe I had my coat with me because it wasn't exactly a warm day either. It was still pretty chilly out. It is April in the Midwest, by the way, so you could have one day that's 80 degrees and you have another day that's 35 degrees. Beginning of baseball season in the Midwest. For all you that are in the Midwest, they know. You guys know. So I had my coat with me, and the coat does have like a hood to it. It's kind of can be a raincoat, so that helped. We get into the car, drying off. We had traffic getting out of there. And we went immediately to the Milwaukee Bucks game. Immediately there. Didn't go anywhere else. And thankfully, they're not that far. So I know in Detroit, before they were all scattered. Pistons used to be in Auburn Hills. The Lions used to be in Pontiac. The Red Wings were downtown. Tigers were somewhat downtown. So, but in the last few years or so, with the Pistons and the Red Wings going to Little Caesars Arena and the Lions coming down to Detroit, they're all within a few minutes of walking distance with each other. They're all like basically on the same corner, very close. But not all stadiums are like that. Not all cities are like that. So there are cities where one team could be way over there and another team could be way over there. Thankfully, with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Brewers, they are not that far away. They are only within a 10 to 15-minute distance of driving from each other. So that was cool. The Bucks are a little bit more downtown. The Brewers, at least from what I could tell, they were just out there near the city, maybe outside the city a little bit, but they weren't necessarily surrounded by skyscrapers, if that makes any sense. The Bucks were a little bit more closer to downtown. So we drive there, and we end up parking in the parking garage, which actually had a walkway that connected to the stadium itself. I think it was about $45 to park in there, so somewhat reasonable, considering how parking has become kind of ridiculous. I mean, I get it. Inflation has hit everything and everyone. Everything has gone up. So even to go to a game, prices continue to rise for everything. So to be right next to the stadium for $45. I guess it was decent enough, and it connected, and that is nice that it connected too because it was raining out. However, because I take pictures, we didn't go across. I ended up still going outside because I wanted to take pictures of the exterior of their buildings. Which with them, I hope I say this correctly. I believe it is pronounced Fiserv Forum. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I do not know what Fiserv is. I don't know if it's a financial company. I have no idea what Fiserv means. I believe, even asked one of the ushers, and they kind of explained something, but didn't. So I don't know what Fiserv means, to be honest with you. The other one I know was insurance. American Family Field, that was insurance. Fiserv, I don't know. So, but nice building, nice place. I don't know what it was previously called before. I'm sure it had a name before, but anyways. So, but I wanted to take pictures of the outside, and I did get to do that. Let's see if I can go ahead and share with you a picture from the outside here. Hopefully that is coming through. Fiserv form. I took a few shots, so got to see different angles of it. There's that bridge that you could walk across from the parking garage. Yeah. And then they also had pictures of the players outside. That was kind of cool. Walking to Deer District, home of the Milwaukee Bucks. Try to take a little close up of some of them. One of the signs that are outside there on the ground. And then the actual Buck itself. So we went in from there, and the line that we got into actually was pretty short, and then we had to take an elevator. I think we went into one of the entrances that was for like one of the special clubs, so we couldn't go in there. We didn't have club seats. We had just nosebleed seats again. But they did direct us up an elevator, and we went up the elevator and got out there. And we had gotten there still kind of early, which was nice. So we had plenty of time to walk around, find our seats, get something to eat, and that's what we did. And we ended up talking to an usher. I believe her name, if I saw her name, I think it was Tasha. Super friendly girl, and she sat and talked with us, or stood and talked with us, I should say. She didn't sit down for a little while. It was still kind of early, so not a lot of people were there quite yet, so we could chit chat with her for a bit. And very nice lady. We got to talk with her, and then from there we went to go find our seats. We were kind of behind one of the rims to the right of it a little bit, I guess you could say. And then I got a hamburger and a cookie, and they had it where it was like you go almost like a la carte. You go down almost, you have not a tray, but you ever been to a cafeteria? You had a tray, you pick your food, and you go pay for it. That's what you kind of did there. You didn't really necessarily order it from people, although they had people there. But you would grab your thing, your food, whatever it is, take it, and you put it on like a scale of some kind. I don't know if it weighted or how it knew what it was, but you put it on there. It totaled up, and here's your total, $55 or whatever it is, which isn't uncommon for a sports game to spend it that high. So the food at Fiserv was definitely a little bit more than the food at American Family Field, from what I could tell. The beer was. Now, my friend wanted to get a beer. I should have probably got it at the baseball game, but he was going to wait till there. The beers were anywhere between $12 to $15 a beer. And he just didn't want to spend. Now, he doesn't go to games very often. And I have noticed that beer has become a little bit, it continues to get up and up in the prices at professional games. I don't necessarily get a beer very often. I'm not a humongous beer guy because I have more of a sweet palate. So if I do drink an alcoholic drink, I prefer, a daiquiri, pina colada, something like that. I have more of a sweet palate. But I will have a beer from time to time. But for that price, I think I'm okay with water. Anyway, which is what I did get. I did get water. I was trying to be good with that, so I got water. He didn't get a beer. And that's okay. So the game started, and they were playing the New York Knicks. So with this game, now this game was near the end of the season, as opposed to the Brewers who are just starting their season. The Bucks are ending their season, and if they were to win this game against the New York Knicks, they would solidify themselves in the playoffs. They were New York was also fighting for playoff positioning. Not sure how that has ended since. Again, this was a week and a half ago. But at the time, if the Bucks could win a game, then they would solidify themselves. I wasn't quite sure on where the standings were. And based on from what I'm hearing, it sounded like I didn't even know the Bucks, or I was like, were the Bucks even in the playoffs? I mean, are they going to make the playoffs? By the way, the team, the fans were, I kept hearing, oh, we suck. We're no good. This is a disappointment season. Going on and on about how horrible it was, and they can't hold a lead. Their defense, this. I'm like, oh wow, are they even in the playoffs? Are they going to make it? I look at the standings; they're number two. They're number two. I'll trade you. My team's the Pistons. They are dead last. I'll trade you. You want to trade? Because I'll trade. They are number two. Now, if they were to win this game, they would solidify they would be in the playoffs. And I think they would probably hold on to number two. But if they would lose, then they could be switched up, because in the Eastern Conference, from my understanding, so many of the teams from like 2 to 9, they're all very close to each other. So a win here, a loss there can really affect your seeding. I get that. But, and I get that the Bucks won a couple of years ago, and good for the Bucks to be able to win that. I was rooting for Giannis. He's Greek. I'm Greek. He comes from Greece. So I do have a little special place for him in my heart, even if he's not a Piston. Being that the cultural thing is kind of there. So I was kind of rooting for him. It was cool to be able to see him live. I was worried about that. I was like, sometimes load management, sometimes the superstars don't always play every game. But I thought if you're fighting for a playoff position, it's Sunday night, you got to play your stars, right? So I was a little worried, but not too much. Sure enough, he did play, and it was cool to be able to see him play live. They were playing the New York Knicks again, who was also fighting for playoff positioning. Very electrifying atmosphere, I got to say. It was before the game started. It was about maybe 10 minutes to go before the game was about to tip off, and my friend looks around, and the place is almost empty. I was like, man, this is going to be a big crowd. We still got 10 minutes to go. Give it time. I've been around enough games to see people come in right there at the very end to fill it up. But sure enough, they did. It was a pretty full house. And and one of the things I never really seen before at an NBA basketball game was they had like a band playing in the beginning of the game. I thought that was kind of cool. Live band, I think, is always pretty cool. One of the reasons I like college sports, when you get the live band there, the marching band. I don't know if this necessarily was a marching band, but it was, a live band of some kind. And then later on throughout the game, along with the DJ, they had live drummers just banging the drums and getting the crowd involved, banging the drums when the Knicks were trying to shoot free throws, along with those thunder sticks. They're really making it. I always love live events, and I love a live electrifying atmosphere. It's one of the reasons I enjoy going to games. Some games are going to be more low key. If you go to a baseball game, it might not be as loud and exciting as if you go to a basketball game, or if you go to a football game. I get it. It depends. It depends on the game, depends on the teams and what's going on. I get that. But electrifying atmosphere, the crowd's into it, the crowd's going, it's loud. I love that type of atmosphere. I love being at those type of games. And this ended up being one of those, and it was almost in a way a little bit like a playoff game. Not quite to that extent, but it was up there, definitely up there. So Milwaukee did a great job of getting a lead. They kind of went back and forth at the start of the game a little bit, and then Milwaukee just kind of took off more and more. And by the end of the half, they had New York had closed the gap, but then Milwaukee again took the lead and ended up getting up by 11 points. They had an 11-point lead going into halftime. I thought, all right, Milwaukee's they're doing pretty good with this, and that's going to bode well for them, bode well for the fans. Second half comes around. Now I was starting to see a little bit what the fans were getting kind of annoyed with, right? They had said they couldn't hold the lead. And I'm thinking, you're up by 11, you're at home, playoff seeding on the line. They'll look at this. Well, New York starts making some plays, made some adjustments. And they had one guy on their team, Brunson, I believe is his name. He was unstoppable in this game. I mean, he carved up Milwaukee like it was a turkey. He just went off on them. And they're going to defend him this time? Nope. Nope, not this time either. All right, continually making shot after shot. By the end of the game, he had almost 50 points. He was up in the 40s, which I probably have seen live before someone get that high, but uh, not that it stuck out in my mind. Like this person went off for over 40 points, close to 50 points, something I've seen live anyways. So they didn't have an answer for him, or if they did, it wasn't working. He just kept going and going, and they just kept making play after play after play. And next thing I know, not only did Milwaukee blow the lead, which all the fans were, getting upset about. I guess they had done that before. Now New York had a lead themselves, and they kept increasing it. And we were by a guy that at near the end of the game, we were watching him. New York was passing the ball around. He's like, "Oh, if he hits this shot, it's over." Sure enough, like an assassin, just shoots and nails the three to continue to build on their lead. He's like, "Oh, it's over." I can't remember if he ended up leaving then, but after that, a lot of people left. A lot of people left, and I get it. Once you know that your team's about to lose, go now, fight the traffic, get out of there. I get it. I am not one of those people. I growing up, my dad, when we went to games as a kid, he wanted to leave early. He wanted to beat the traffic. Like, no, I want to see the whole game. And as a kid, I didn't have much to say. But now as an adult, yeah, I want to be there for the entire game. I purchased a ticket for the entire game. I want to see it. One time I left a Pistons game early. And my wife was shocked because they were getting blown out by a team they had no business getting blown out by, and there was like 16 people in the stands. I'm like, no, all right, that's it. This isn't worth it. Let's go. That was one time. Other than that, no, I don't leave early unless I am absolutely forced to in some way, shape, or form. So we stuck around. And the final score ended up being Milwaukee lost 122-109 to the New York Knicks. I thought I was going to see a sweep of Milwaukee teams. I honestly did, especially at halftime. I thought I was going to see a sweep, but I didn't. New York made enough adjustments. They played decent defense in the second half, and Milwaukee did not. And they ended up winning the game. And I was actually impressed being able to go into Milwaukee in that type of atmosphere and pull out a victory. I'll see if I can maybe share with you a picture of something I took here to kind of give you a little bit of glimpse of where I was sitting there, right behind one of the basketball rims, a little bit to the right of it. And you could see that the stadium was pretty full. They had a good atmosphere. One of their shows was dancers, and it was like older people and little kids. It wasn't like an in between. Usually, you see cheerleaders that are, just young women. No, this was like older people and little kids. I thought that was a little unique too. So that was where we were sitting. I also like to usually take a picture of the scoreboard too, the final score, and see if I can share that with you as well. There it is, 122-109. Hopefully, again, it's coming through all right. And I realize, of course, this is for the benefit of those who are watching on YouTube, not necessarily those who are listening to the podcast. If you are just listening to the podcast, I encourage you to come onto my YouTube channel, Jay's Paradise Travels, and be able to see some of these pictures as well. I'm a visual person, so I do both visual and audio. And I like to be able to share. So there's a little bit, but I do have more pictures that are on my Instagram and Facebook page. Again, Jay's Paradise Travels. Feel free to hop on that and take a look at them. I like to take pictures of surrounding the building and inside with the game. Try to take a video here or there. Try to take a scoreboard shot, the final scoreboard. Some of those things that I like to do with that. So I hope you enjoyed this. That was my experience in Milwaukee. After that, it was late. Obviously, we had a long day, and we still had a 5.5 hour drive to get back home. And I planned to sleep the way there, but I think the first half, I ended up talking with my friend. He was driving. My dad rested up, and then he took over. When my dad took over driving, I fell asleep for a little bit, and we got home. I got home, I think it was 4 a.m. So a long day, definitely made for a long day to drive there, catch 2 games and drive all the way back. But I definitely had fun, and I'm pretty sure that those who went with me enjoyed it too, had a good time. Milwaukee went 1-1. Their baseball game they won, their basketball game they lost. It is what it is. Again, if next year I go see the Knicks play the Bucks in Madison Square Garden, I'm rooting for the Knicks that day. And that has actually happened. I'll have to save it for another podcast, where one year I think it was the Pacers and 76ers, saw them in Indiana, and then the very following year I saw the exact same game in Philadelphia. Uh, that'll be for another podcast. Anyways, but thank you for listening. Thank you. And please feel free to like, rate, subscribe, share, give 5-star review, all that good stuff that keeps a podcast going and what podcasters are looking for. And definitely feel free to reach out to me. j.paradise.travels@gmail.com is my email. You can reach out to me in any one of those social forms I mentioned, Instagram or Facebook. But you can also email me too. Reach out to me. I'd love to be able to help plan a trip for you. If it includes going to a sports game, be happy to do that too. So anyways, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Bye-bye.